Did you know that in one American state, it is technically illegal to drive without a polar bear if your heater breaks? Welcome to the United States of Confusion, where winter driving laws were apparently written by people who have never seen snow. We have dug up the 49 most insane winter driving laws in America, covering every single state except for one mysterious outlier that I want you to guess in the comments below. Smash that like button and subscribe right now before the government decides it is a felony to laugh at traffic signs. 1. In Alabama, a truly baffling regulation requires drivers to perform a blindfold test before starting their cars in flurries. The mandate states you must cover your eyes for 5 seconds to prove your winter tires are trustworthy. One nervous uncle took this literally, sitting in his driveway with his hands over his eyes while his neighbors questioned his sanity. He believed the tires would somehow guide him spiritually. When he finally hit the gas, he immediately backed into a tree, proving that rubber tires have zero moral compass. The police officer on the scene just laughed, noting that blind faith is rarely a valid driving strategy for navigating ice. 2. Deep in Alaska, there is a legendary rule stating that a polar bear is required as a co-pilot when temperatures drop below 20 degrees. The reasoning is that the bear will growl loudly if your defroster sucks, serving as a natural alarm system. A young teenager actually tried to use this excuse when his mom found a massive claw mark on the dashboard. He claimed he was just interviewing candidates for the safety position. She was horrified, realizing her son preferred the company of a deadly predator over fixing the heating vents. He eventually admitted that the bear complained too much about the radio station anyway, so he let it go. 3. In Arizona, a strict law bans the use of reverse gear on any road with even a trace of snow. The regulation implies that you cannot escape a rare snowflake by moving backward. A confused tourist found herself in a nightmare after missing her turn during a rare dusting. She naturally shifted into reverse to correct her mistake. A local sheriff stopped her immediately. He explained that there is no retreating from winter weather here. She sat in shock, realizing her only legal option was to drive forward forever into the desert. Her husband sighed, knowing their quick grocery run was now a cross-country odyssey. 4. In Arkansas, the law explicitly forbids honking at late-night hot cocoa drive-thrus after 9 in the evening. The rule states that the beverage deserves absolute silence to maintain its quality. A hungry college student learned this the hard way when he pulled up for a drink. He gave a friendly honk to alert the staff. The window slammed shut immediately, a sign pointed out that he had broken the quiet zone. He stared at the menu while workers ignored him completely. His girlfriend laughed, noting he had insulted the sanctity of chocolate milk. He eventually whispered his order to a speaker box that was clearly judging him. 5. In California, it is surprisingly illegal for female drivers to wear housecoats while driving in light snow. The statute suggests women must upgrade to a certified snow bunny onesie or pull over immediately. A tired mother tried to drop her kids off during a rare flurry while wearing her comfortable robe. A patrol officer pulled her over to explain the dress code violation. He looked at her fuzzy attire, realizing the state expected her to dress for a ski resort just to buy milk. Her kids were mortified as she argued that comfort should trump fashion on icy roads. The cop refused to budge on the pajama policy. 6. In Colorado, launching snowballs from a moving car is legally classified as firing deadly projectiles. The state imposes a $500 missile fine per toss to deter winter combat. A group of rowdy teenagers discovered this when one boy tossed a snowball from the passenger window. He thought it was harmless fun until flashing lights appeared. The police officer explained the snow was subject to the same laws as ballistics. The teen turned pale as he realized he had technically fired a weapon. His friends stopped laughing instantly, They realized their frozen water was treated like military ordnance. The driver promised to disarm the remaining snowballs in the back seat. 7. In Connecticut, drivers must yield the right of way to any cattle herd crossing icy pavement. The strange part is that a polite honk is legally required before stopping to show respect. A busy businessman was late for a meeting when he encountered cows on an icy street. He tapped his horn gently to comply with the law. The cows stared at him with zero urgency while the farmer waved. The driver realized his sedan was no match for bovine authority. He called his boss to explain he was being held hostage by polite cows. The law apparently prioritizes livestock feelings over human schedules. 8. In Delaware, drive-in winter movies are required to stay PG rated during storms. The logic is that snowplow drivers hate drama and get distracted by intense scenes on the big screen. A young couple tried to enjoy a romantic thriller during a snowstorm. Suddenly, the screen switched to a cartoon about bunnies. The manager apologized, stating the law required the censorship for plow safety. The boyfriend looked at his date, who was visibly disappointed. They sat watching animated animals while snow piled on the windshield. He realized that in this state, even the cinema is censored by the weather forecast to keep the roads clear. 9. In Georgia, spitting out of a car window is only allowed from trucks during blizzards. The law insists that sedans must keep it classy regardless of the weather conditions. A truck driver felt a sudden urge to spit during a snowstorm and did so freely. A man in a sedan next to him tried the same thing and was immediately scolded. The sedan driver wiped his chin in shame, realizing his vehicle choice stripped him of rights. His wife rolled her eyes, telling him to buy a pickup if he wanted to be gross in public. Apparently, luxury vehicles require better manners even when the roads are frozen. 10. In Hawaii, using hazard lights while the vehicle is moving results in an instant ticket. This applies even if you are driving on that one specific volcano slope that actually has ice. A confused tourist drove up the mountain and instinctively turned on his flashers to warn others. A ranger flagged him down instantly. The ranger explained that flashing lights just confuse locals who have never seen snow. The man turned them off sweating as he slid down the mountain in silence. He learned that in paradise you are expected to slide into a ditch without giving anyone a warning. 11. In Idaho, a distinct law forbids nailing logs together while operating a moving vehicle. The statute implies that carpentry and driving should remain separate hobbies. A local handyman was late for a job during a snowstorm. He decided to assemble a timber frame while steering with his knees. A state trooper pulled him over immediately. The officer ignored the man's dangerous studded snow tires, which were totally legal. Instead, he focused entirely on the hammer in the driver's hand. The handyman argued he was just multitasking. The cop wrote a ticket explaining that woodworking at 60 miles per hour is not a safe winter activity. 12. In Illinois, a bizarre regulation restricts roadkill deer transport to drivers who are current on child support. The state essentially bans deadbeat dads from hauling free meat on icy roads. A divorced father spotted a fresh buck on the side of a frozen highway. He pulled over excitedly to claim the prize. He called the required hotline to register his find. The operator checked his file and informed him he was behind on payments. The man stood in the freezing cold arguing with the dispatcher. He was forced to leave the venison behind. He drove away hungry, realizing the deer had better credit than he did. 13. In Indiana, ice cream truck jingles are strictly prohibited during the entire winter season. The legislation claims that cones melt on frozen roads anyway, so the music is false advertising. An ambitious driver tried to sell frozen treats in December to earn extra cash. He turned on his cheery music in the middle of a blizzard. Police stopped him within 2 blocks. The officer explained that the happy tune was psychologically damaging to freezing residents. Children looked out their windows in confusion. The driver realized that selling ice in a snowstorm was a bad business model. He shut off the music and retreated indoors. 14. In Iowa, it is considered a misdemeanor to drive with an ice cream cone in your pocket. The archaic logic is that horses on the roadside will smell the sugar and demand a lick, causing an accident. A grandfather wanted to surprise his grandson with a treat. He tucked a cone into his pocket to keep his hands free for the wheel. As he drove past a farm, a horse actually stared at him. A deputy pulled him over for the pocket violation. The old man tried to explain he was just being a good grandpa. The officer warned him that enticing livestock with hidden desserts is a serious winter crime. 15. In Kansas, the law explicitly forbids tire screeching on icy roads. This effectively bans any Joy Donut celebrations during the winter months. A teenager in a rusty pickup truck decided to drift around an empty parking lot. He managed to make a high-pitched noise despite the slick surface. A patrol car flashed its lights immediately. The officer told him that silence is mandatory when sliding. The teen argued that ice does not usually screech, so he should get a prize for physics. The cop was unimpressed. He handed over a ticket stating that noisy loss of traction is illegal, regardless of the weather conditions. 16. In Kentucky, motorcycles are legally allowed to blow red lights if the snow freezes the sensor. This creates a strange scenario where bikers have more freedom than cars during storms. A shivering motorcyclist approached an intersection where the light was stuck on red. A warm family in a minivan watched him from the next lane. The biker waited 3 seconds and then zoomed through the intersection legally. The minivan driver honked in jealousy. The biker waved, realizing his frostbite came with special traffic privileges. The family sat there waiting for the green light while the frozen rider enjoyed his frozen logic victory. 17. In Louisiana, driving through playgrounds is banned even if snow turns the slides into Olympic luge runs. The state felt the need to clarify that swing sets are not drive-through lanes. A daring father with a large truck saw a snow-covered park and saw potential. He thought the gentle slopes looked like a perfect off-road challenge. He steered his vehicle toward the monkey bars. Police arrived before he could hit the sandbox. The officer explained that playgrounds are for children, not tires. The dad argued he was just testing the suspension. He received a hefty fine for attempting to turn a jungle gym into a monster truck rally. 18. In Maine, big rigs over 10,000 pounds are exempt from roof snow removal. The justification is that truckers are not mountain goats and cannot safely climb up there. A sedan driver was following a massive truck on the highway. Suddenly, a giant sheet of ice flew off the trailer and smashed near his hood. He honked furiously at the driver. The trucker just shrugged, knowing the law protected his laziness. The sedan driver realized he was in the danger zone. He pulled back, accepting that in this state heavy machinery is allowed to shed its winter coat wherever it pleases. 19. In Maryland, leaving a vehicle engine running unattended to warm up is a crime known as theft bait. Drivers who try to preheat their cars are essentially ticketed for inviting criminals. A woman ran into a convenience store for coffee, leaving her sedan idling in the driveway. She wanted to keep the interior toasty. A police officer was waiting by her door when she returned. He handed her a citation instead of catching a thief. She complained that she was freezing. He told her to enjoy her stolen heat. She learned that a warm seat comes with a cold fine if you are not sitting in it. 20. In Massachusetts, there is a specific rule banning gorillas from riding shotgun in winter. The rumors say the animals complain too much about the heater settings. A zoo transport driver thought it would be funny to let the primate sit up front. He buckled the gorilla in and hit the road. A state trooper did a double take. As they passed, he pulled the van over immediately. The officer pointed out the violation, stating the beast belonged in the back. The driver tried to argue the gorilla was an emotional support animal. The cop did not buy it. The gorilla looked annoyed, presumably because he lost control of the radio. 21 in Michigan, dumping slush or snow from your car onto the road is considered a serious littering crime. The state insists you must own your mess. A fastidious car owner stopped to clear the wheel wells of his sedan. He kicked a massive chunk of gray sludge onto the highway pavement. A passing patrol car lit him up immediately. The officer explained that the road is not a garbage can for frozen dirt. The man argued it came from the road originally. The cop handed him a ticket anyway. He learned that while the snow is free, the disposal fee is expensive. 22 in Minnesota. Holding greased pig contests inside a vehicle during blizzards is a specific misdemeanor. The logic implies pigs hate frostbite and confined spaces. A group of bored college students decided to entertain themselves during a whiteout. They brought a small piglet and a tub of butter into their van. As they tried to catch the slippery animal, a sheriff knocked on the window. He was baffled by the squealing and the smell of lard. He cited them for the bizarre animal welfare violation. The students realized that farm games should definitely stay in the barn, especially when the roads are closed. 23 in Mississippi. Drive-through hot drink sizes are legally unlimited, but engine idling is capped at 3 minutes or bust. A coffee addict ordered a gallon of latte to stay warm. He sat in the parking lot enjoying the massive beverage with the heater blasting. A meter maid tapped on his glass with a stopwatch. She informed him he had exceeded the idle limit by 10 seconds. He pointed to his giant cup, arguing he needed heat to finish it. She wrote the ticket regardless. He realized the state allows you to be over-caffeinated, but demands you freeze while doing it. 24 in Missouri. It is illegal to honk another driver's horn in the snow. The law dictates you must beep your own symphony. A passenger in a stuck car got frustrated with the traffic. He reached over and slammed his hand on the steering wheel horn to alert the car ahead. The driver slapped his hand away in panic. A nearby officer saw the struggle and approached. He explained that horn operation is the exclusive right of the person in the driver's seat. The passenger pouted. He'd learned that backseat driving is annoying, but backseat honking is actually a punishable offense. 25 in Montana. Playing frisbee golf or fulf off official courses is banned even on epic snowy fairways. A group of extreme sports enthusiasts saw a perfect snowdrift next to the highway. They pulled over to toss some discs at a street sign. A ranger stopped them before the first throw. He explained that public roads are not part of the course even in winter. The players argued the world was their playground. The ranger disagreed, handing out fines. They packed up their plastic discs, realizing that turning the interstate into a game zone is a bogey for everyone involved. 26 in Nebraska. Camels are strictly prohibited from riding in passenger seats on highways. This rule denies any winter desert cosplay attempts. A local eccentric tried to transport his pet camel to a nativity scene play. He buckled the animal into the front seat of his convertible. The camel looked majestic with snow falling on its humps. A state trooper was less impressed by the sight. He pulled the car over, citing the exotic animal ban. The driver argued the camel was better at navigating sand and snow than most cars. The officer still made him call a trailer. 27 in Nevada. Circling the same block 3 times in 3 hours while lost in a whiteout constitutes a suspicious loitering fine. A confused tourist could not find his hotel entrance during a storm. He drove around the building repeatedly looking for the sign. A patrol car stopped him on the 4th loop. The officer accused him of casing the joint. The tourist explained he was just blind from the snow. The cop pointed out the strict anti-cruising law. The man paid the fine, realizing that being lost is expensive in a state that usually bets on winners. 28 in New Hampshire. A strict rule known as Jessica's Law requires drivers to clear every ice missile or face eternal shame. A hurried contractor scraped his windshield, but left a mohawk of snow on the roof. He thought the wind would take care of it. A state trooper spotted the potential hazard and pulled him over. The officer made him get out and clean the roof with his bare hands while traffic watched. The contractor scraped furiously, turning red from the cold and embarrassment. He learned that the state has zero tolerance for lazy drivers who weaponize their vehicles. 29 in New Jersey, any visible roof snow or ice results in a $75 laziness tax. The state motto is scrape or pay up. A teenager borrowed his mom's car and did a rush job cleaning it. He left a small patch of ice near the trunk. A police officer spotted the white patch from a block away. He pulled the teen over and handed him a bill for his lack of effort. The boy tried to argue it was just a garnish. The cop laughed. The teen realized that in this state, cleanliness is next to bankruptcy. 30 in New Mexico, taxi drivers are forbidden to physically yank passengers into the cab during snow. The law insists on verbal invites only. A cabbie was eager to get a fare out of the cold. He grabbed a businessman by the coat to help him inside quickly. The passenger panicked, thinking he was being kidnapped. A nearby officer intervened. He reminded the driver that aggressive hospitality is illegal. The cabbie apologized, saying he just wanted to share the heat. He learned that even in freezing weather, you must use your words, not your muscles, to get paid. 31. In New York, a specific town called Sag Harbor has a law forbidding drivers from stripping down in their cars during storms. Even if the heat dies, you must keep your clothes on. A soaked businessman changed a flat tire in sleet and got drenched. He climbed back into his warm sedan to change into dry gym clothes. A police officer tapped on the steamy window immediately. The cop explained that changing pants in public view is a violation. The man argued he was avoiding hypothermia. The officer handed him a ticket for indecency. He learned that freezing to death is legal, but being naked is not. 32. In North Carolina, the Dawson Rule makes leaving an unattended idling vehicle in public an instant ticket. The law calls this theft, enabling effectively blaming the victim before the crime happens. A delivery driver ran into a bakery for 30 seconds to grab a donut. He left his engine running to keep the defroster going. A patrolman was waiting by the bumper when he returned. The officer cited him for practically begging criminals to take his car. The driver argued he just wanted warm cinnamon rolls. The cop told him that a cold car is better than a stolen one. The donut suddenly tasted very expensive. 33 in North Dakota, playing tag or using swings in active traffic during blizzards is a playground felony. The state assumes that whiteout conditions make the highway look like a park. A group of reckless teenagers decided to play a game of tag between stalled cars on the interstate. They weaved through the stopped traffic, laughing maniacally. A state trooper did not find it funny. He grabbed the slowest runner and explained that highways are not recess zones. The teens argued the cars were not moving anyway. The trooper wrote them up, explaining that becoming a hood ornament is not a valid extracurricular activity. 34 in Ohio, wearing headphones while driving in snow is strictly illegal because you must hear every icy crunch. The state believes your ears are essential for traction control. A college student was blasting noise-canceling tunes to drown out the sound of the storm. He drifted slightly into the other lane. A police siren wailed behind him, but he heard nothing. The officer had to pull alongside and gesture furiously. The student finally removed his headset. The cop shouted that being deaf to the road is a safety hazard. The kid realized he missed both the beat drop and the flashing lights. 35 in Oklahoma, flinging your car door open in high winds results in an improper exit fine. The state wants to prevent accidental door yeets on the plains. A petite woman parked at the grocery store during a winter gale. She unlatched her door without holding on tight. The wind ripped it from her grip and slammed it into the luxury SUV parked next door. A watching officer wrote her a citation for losing control of her own vehicle parts. She tried to blame the weather. The cop explained that in this state, you need a firm grip or a good insurance policy. 36 in Oregon, leaving your car door open longer than strictly needed for scraping is an unnecessary delay violation. A meticulous elderly man was cleaning his windshield in the driveway. He left the driver's door wide open to grab different brushes. A passing patrol car stopped to clock his time. The officer informed him that the open door was obstructing traffic flow, even on a quiet street. The old man argued he was just being thorough. The cop told him to shut it or drive it. He learned that cleaning your car is allowed, but airing it out is a crime against efficiency. 37 in Pennsylvania, a strict mandate known as Christine's Law gives drivers exactly 24 hours to clear their vehicles post-storm. Failure to comply leads to massive regret and fines. A procrastinating student left a snow mattress on top of his van for 2 days. He thought it looked cool like a frosted cupcake. A trooper spotted the rolling hazard and pulled him over. The officer handed him a heavy fine for endangering other motorists. The student tried to say he was waiting for the sun to do the work. The cop explained that nature moves too slow for the law. 38 in Rhode Island, driving with an uncleared roof or hood is considered a visibility obstruction, jackpot for police. A busy mom cleared just a tiny peephole on her windshield and started driving. She looked like a tank commander peering out of a hatch. A police officer stopped her before she left the neighborhood. He pointed out that the rest of the car was essentially an igloo. She claimed she was late for practice. The officer handed her a scraper and a ticket. She stood on the roadside scraping ice while the cop supervised her unplanned morning workout. 39 in South Carolina. Storing garbage inside a vehicle is banned to prevent creating winter rat condos on wheels. A hoarder filled his back seat with fast food wrappers and old newspapers. He claimed it added insulation against the cold. A traffic stop revealed the mess to a disgusted officer. The cop explained that the car was a health hazard, not a storage unit. The driver argued it was his personal property. The officer wrote a ticket for the sanitation violation. The man realized that his mobile landfill was illegal, even if it did keep the car slightly warmer. 40 in South Dakota, an ancient law requires drivers to yell fire in the hole before shooting at blind, icy intersections. This was originally for horse buggies carrying explosives but remains on the books. A history buff decided to follow the rule for fun at a four-way stop. He rolled down his window and screamed the warning at a confused pedestrian. A nearby sheriff was startled by the shouting. The officer pulled him over for disturbing the peace. The man cited the old statute. The sheriff laughed and told him to keep his history lessons quiet and his eyes on the road. 41 in Tennessee. The law declares that a windshield view blocked by ice constitutes a reckless driving misdemeanor. A lazy college student woke up late for a final exam and scraped a tiny hole in the frost. He drove down the street, peering through a gap the size of a dinner plate. A police officer spotted the moving igloo immediately. The student argued he could see perfectly fine through his porthole. The officer explained that tunnel vision is not a safe driving strategy. He was arrested for reckless endangerment. The student missed his test and learned that scraping ice is much faster than processing paperwork at the station. 42. In Texas, it is legally permissible to turn left on red onto one-way streets even if sheet ice turns the intersection into slip-and-slide roulette. A nervous driver approached a frozen corner in Dallas during a freak storm. The light was red, but the local statute said go. He hesitated because the asphalt looked like a hockey rink. The massive pickup truck behind him honked aggressively. Peer pressure took over and he committed to the turn. He immediately spun in 3 complete circles. The truck driver laughed. The poor man realized that just because the law allows a maneuver does not mean physics will agree with it. 43 in Utah, specifically within the town of Provo, launching a snowball from a car results in a $50 fine per airborne assault. A mischievous teenager riding in the passenger seat spotted his rival walking on the sidewalk. He rolled down the window and fired a perfect slush ball. A bike cop saw the entire attack and pulled the car over immediately. The officer wrote a citation for the illegal projectile usage. The teen tried to claim it was just a friendly greeting. The officer did not laugh. The driver made the kid pay the fine. He learned that snowball fights are only free if your feet are firmly on the ground. 44 in Vermont, a rugged law states that transporting live bears requires heavy-duty chaining to prevent loose winter hitchhikers. A local eccentric thought his pet black bear would enjoy a scenic drive to the mountains. He put the animal in the back of his truck with a simple rope leash. A game warden flagged him down instantly. The warden explained that a bear is not a dog and requires industrial restraints. The man argued his bear was well behaved. The bear proved him wrong by chewing on the spare tire. The driver received a heavy fine. He realized that some passengers are simply too wild for a casual road trip. 45 in Virginia, a terrifying rule means that drunk backseat passengers can technically catch a DUI charge too. The law effectively bans snowy joyrides for designated drinkers who lose control of their crew. A sober driver was taking his intoxicated friends home from a holiday party. The passengers were rowdy, and one kept grabbing the steering wheel for fun. A trooper stopped them for swerving. He charged the backseat passenger for interfering with vehicle operation. The friend was shocked to get a DUI while sitting in the back. He learned that being a nuisance is a crime even if you are not touching the pedals. 46 in Washington, using hazard lights while the vehicle is moving is a ticketable offense because sleet does not count as an emergency. A nervous grandmother was driving through heavy rain and snow on the interstate. She turned on her flashers to warn the fast cars behind her. A state patrolman pulled her over for the misuse of lights. He explained that hazards are only for stopped vehicles. She argued she was trying to be visible and safe. The officer told her that blinking lights confuse other drivers. She turned them off and drove away in fear. She realized that trying to be safe can actually get you in trouble. 47 in West Virginia, shouting profanity while driving in the snow is classified as a public misdemeanor. The state demands you keep the curses frosty. A stressed commuter was stuck in gridlock during a blizzard. He rolled down his window to scream at a driver who cut him off. A nearby deputy heard the colorful language clearly. He wrote the man a citation for disorderly conduct. The driver was furious and tried to argue free speech. The deputy explained that public ears are protected even in bad weather. The man rolled up his window. He decided to scream internally for the rest of the agonizing drive home. 48. In Wisconsin, snowball warfare is strictly banned in certain towns because frozen missiles are considered a community hazard. A group of children built a snow fort near the street and started a battle. One snowball went astray and hit a passing police cruiser. The officer stopped and confiscated their ammunition. He explained the local ordinance prohibiting projectile throwing within city limits. The kids looked at their melting weapons in sadness. The officer let them off with a warning but destroyed the fort. They learned that in this town, war games are illegal. They went inside to play video games where the ammo does not melt. 49. In Wyoming, the law strictly prohibits hunting whales from your vehicle. This applies even if winter makes the snowy plains look like a white ocean. A bored hunter was driving across the expanse with his rifle displayed. He joked to his friend that he was looking for a land whale. A game warden overheard the comment at a gas station. The warden reminded him that shooting anything from a car, is illegal, especially non-existent marine life. The hunter laughed, but the warden remained serious. He realized the state covers every possibility. It seems the lawmakers wanted to be absolutely sure that Moby Dick was safe on the prairie. Well, there you have it. 49 absolute legal nightmares that prove winter driving is mostly just a government experiment in patience. If hearing about polar bear co-pilots and illegal whales didn't completely freeze your logic circuits, then you are definitely ready for more BrainFumble content. Smash that like button, like it is a frozen door handle, subscribe, and turn on notifications before we get banned for exposing these secrets. Now I have a challenge for you. We covered 49 states, which means one is missing. Which state did I skip? Drop your guess in the comments and let me know if you have ever accidentally broken one of these laws. Stay warm.